Hello and welcome to your monthly safety topic on ergonomics. Ergonomics as a safety and health concern is really quite new. Historically, factories were filled with equipment and machines, and the employees were asked to work within the limitations of how the equipment was built. Not anymore. So when we think about ergonomics, we think, well, who's affected? The answer to that is just about anyone. Ergonomics considers body dimensions, the mobility of human beings, and the body's behavior to stressors, especially in a repetitive work environment. That could be anyone. So why is ergonomics important to you and me? Well, obviously, if we can design the work to fit you, then it prevents injuries, improves your quality of work, and thereby improves your quality of life because it reduces fatigue and discomfort in your workday. It prevents musculoskeletal disorders, or MSDs. An MSD is an injury that affects the human body's movement or musculoskeletal systems such as muscles, tendons, ligaments, and blood vessels. You may know them better by the common disorder names such as tendinitis, muscle strain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and even tennis elbow. No matter the title or name that you call it, I think you get the idea. MSDs can be uncomfortable and be interruptive to your normal daily activities. While the term musculoskeletal disorder sounds chilling, it's used because it does a great job of accurately describing the problem. You don't just catch an MSD like it's a cold or the flu. There are several different risk factors associated with developing a musculoskeletal disorder. In fact, there are 7 of them. Let's take a look at them right now. Risk factor number 1, and by far the most talked about risk factor, is work position and posture. This is really the biggest risk factor at Stewart's Draft. Consider your work activities for a moment. Are they prolonged or repetitive, reaching above shoulder height on a regular basis, kneeling or squatting down to work regularly? Leaning or bending over to reach for product a lot? You do manipulations that use your wrists quite a bit and repetitively. You twist your upper body while lifting and delivering stuff. How about using your hands as tools to perform your job? These would all be risk factors that deal with position and posture. The next most important thing to consider in risk factors for MSDs is the frequency of the task. That is to say, are you performing the same motion or a series of repetitive motions very frequently or for extended periods of time? The intensity risk factor is considering just how much excessive force is needed by your body to do the task. Activities such as lifting heavy objects, pushing or pulling heavy loads, or manually pouring materials are not normally an issue. But if it becomes an issue when you strain to lift, require a lot of effort to move, or your wrist and arms can't sustain the pouring motion that is being required of the job, other actions such as gripping or manipulating items or the force necessary to maintain control of your work are intensity risk factors. Duration is a risk factor that is very important. Chopping a few logs of wood possesses a lot of risk factors such as work posture, position, intensity, or swinging the axe and gripping of the handle, but it isn't a big concern if you only chop a couple of logs each day. However, if you had to do this task day in and day out, then you can see why all the risk factors would converge to be a potential cause for harm because of duration. The duration of chopping the wood from a couple logs a day to an entire shift makes all the difference in the world. The human body doesn't do a very good job of handling sustained vibratory work. Things like power tools, machinery, and jackhammers are great examples where vibration can impact the musculoskeletal system with symptoms like low back pain, shoulder strain, and neck discomfort. Temperature and hydration play an important role in determining risk for MSDs. Cold conditions affect your coordination and dexterity, and it causes you to respond with tighter grips to regain or retain better control. Hydration is one of the most under-considered risk factors. Being hydrated is essential for keeping muscles strong, well lubricated, and sufficiently energized and hydrated. Even in the cold of winter, staying hydrated can't be emphasized enough to avoid MSD injuries. Whether at work or at home, when you ask your body to work outside its capabilities and limitations, you're asking it to put your musculoskeletal system at risk. The 7 risk factors should be common sense in considering how to reduce musculoskeletal disorders. As a recap, here are the 7 risk factors associated with MSDs: work posture and position, frequency of the task, intensity, duration of the task, vibration, temperature, and of course, hydration. Now that we've learned the 7 risk factors for MSDs, the question becomes, what do we do about it? Well, we can prepare ourselves for the workday ahead through stretching and flexing. Remember in the beginning of the presentation we talked about who's affected by ergonomics. Well, the same group that's affected by ergonomics, just about everyone, could also benefit from the prevention technique called stretching and flexing. Stretching involves preparing your body with flexibility. So what does stretching and flexing do for you? Well, when done correctly, stretches reduce the risk of musculoskeletal injuries by reducing fatigue, improving muscular balance and posture, and it also improves your muscle coordination. The first stretch and flex exercise is called the shoulder stretch. Grab one arm above your elbow with your opposite hand and pull it across your body towards your chest, just like you see in the picture, only until you feel your shoulder stretch just a little. Make sure to keep your elbow below shoulder height and hold this position for 5 seconds. Now, do the same thing with the opposite shoulder, just enough to stretch the shoulder out, never too much to cause injury. Repeat this process a couple more times until you feel your shoulder starting to relax and muscles starting to flex. The next stretch and flex exercise is called the mad cat. Similar to how cats stretch, we're going to assume 2 different poses. The first one, slowly arch the back upwards, tuck that chin in by flexing the head forward and tightening the abdominal muscles, called the mad cat position. The second part of this stretch and flex exercise involves reversing the mad cat position. Lift the head upwards and extend the lower back like you see in the picture, so that the abdominal section hangs downward. Go back and forth from mad cat to reverse 3 to 5 times. The next stretch and flex exercise is called the wrist flexor. Do this by extending your arm out, pointing your palm down towards the floor, bending your palm towards the floor, and using the other hand to gently stretch a little further, just like you see in the photo. As a continuation of the wrist flexor stretch and flex, this time point your palm upward and bend your palm backwards, as you see in the photo, just enough to stretch out the forearm. Finally, like you see in the photo, move your hand to the upward position with the opposite hand. Providing a little bit of tension to that hand increases the flexibility of the forearm. Not too much, just enough for a stretch. Now, let's provide your neck some flexibility using the neck side benders. Tilt your head to the left, bring your ear close to your shoulder, and you can use your other hand to pull the head further into the stretch. Hold it for about 5 seconds. Bring your head back to the center and tilt it to the right, holding again for about 5 seconds. Repeat that process. The stretch and flex program, there you have it. The shoulder stretch, the mad cat, wrist flexor, extensor, and the neck side benders. These are all very simple stretch and flex exercises that anyone could do in any position in the facility to prevent injury. We can't complete ergonomics training or stretch and flex exercises without at least mentioning safe lifting techniques. Remember, bend and lift with your legs, keep your back straight, hold the load close to your body, and pivot using the legs to turn. Team lift and mechanical assistance always when available. This completes the monthly safety training on ergonomics. Thanks for attending. If you have any questions or need any further clarification, please don't hesitate to contact the EHS department. We're here to help.